In this episode, we've had our first call with the prospect. We have connected with the prospect on the first call. We've established a relationship. We found out and we discussed their fears, anxieties, doubts, past failures, their needs, their wants, and their desires, and we've discussed solutions to these issues, which was the key to connecting in the first place. We did all of this by asking, not telling, and we summarized as we went to make sure the prospect understood and were satisfied with the solutions, so basically they're selling themselves. Now we're actually going to hear the call with a prospect who has tremendous confidence issues. And they're ADD, so it's one of these 1, 2, 3 approaches spelled out very simply for them to have the confidence they need. Here's how the call went. We'll summarize it at the end.
Up on our stuff here. As we start out tonight, does everybody remember that wonderful exchange of bantering in the movie A Few Good Men? Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise were going at it in the courtroom, their verbal gymnastics, and Nicholson says, "You want answers?" And Cruise says, "I think I'm entitled." And Nicholson says, "You want answers?" And Cruise says, "I want the truth." And Nicholson says, remember that famous line, "You can't handle the truth." Well, the reason I brought that up is we've been focusing on the truth all year. We've been focusing on helping you understand. We've been focusing on dealing with your issues so you can face the truth. And I did some homework for all of you tonight, and here's a couple of things that we have missed, and I want to get our homework done, so here they are. Of all the emails that I get, the one that keeps coming in is the classic, "Nobody showed up for the second call. My callback rate sucks." Okay? I see that more than anything else, and it seems like no matter how many times we address it, it's not enough. So I dug out some more good stuff for you. And here it is. When a potential new sign-on or a potential business partner or a potential customer, they've somehow mysteriously disappeared off the face of the earth, and you say to yourself, now wait a minute. They seem pretty positive. In fact, they were downright enthusiastic when we spoke. And they said they were serious, and they even understood what I meant by change. But yet they've still vanished into, I don't know, outer space, I guess. So the real problem when this happens is them not showing up is a symptom of the problem. Let me say that again. Them not showing up is a symptom of the problem, but it's not the problem. The real problem is the following. 1, usually there wasn't sufficient commitment on the part of your potential, let's say, customer or partner, to take some form of action as a result of your, the dialogue, the conversation that you had. And fundamentally, it's your framework in your conversation. Did you summarize frequently? Did they acknowledge frequently? Did you focus on benefits instead of product, service, and opportunity and comp plan? That's what will bring them to the second call. When you're not specific enough, but when you measure your specifics and you're realistic with what you say and you expand upon the summarizing and the acknowledgments, then all that's left is what happens when the person you're talking to doesn't take personal responsibility or understand, or you didn't give them enough personal responsibility by summarizing so they show up. Now that may sound a little complicated, but here are some of the ways that I try to create some accountability when you're visiting with a prospect. You all know the one about would you grab a pencil or a pen and write down my phone number so you can get back to me if, if something comes up, the cat's on fire or whatever. I just need to know. Or, you've all heard the professional courtesy of would you get back to me via phone if you want to reschedule. Or how about the one where you've heard, I think you can appreciate the time is valuable, so I'll respect your time if you'll respect mine. would you let me know, so I can reschedule? The point is you've got to close the loop at the end of the call. When you get specific at the end of your first call, when you summarize and rehash the benefits, when you get your prospect to acknowledge you're in control of yourself and you're acting as a leader, and I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't tell very often, your prospects like a leader if they can recognize you as a leader. And the way you do that is getting your prospect to feel good about themselves, that they have a better understanding of benefits. I hope that makes sense to you. Here's another little thing that's on our homework list that needs to be touched upon, and that is the old, I hate this expression, but it's the truth. Am I part of the 5% that's making money, or am I part of the 95% that's dead on their fanny? And why am I not in the 5%? Okay? To summarize that real briefly, being in that 5%, folks, has nothing to do with your hereditary, or your heredity is what I really mean, or how much education you have, or how good looking you are, really, or how much talent or inheritance you have. That's supposed to be a joke. It doesn't even mean how preparedness, where you take what they call preparedness meeting the opportunity, where you basically means you're jumping into the opportunity. And it's not by chance either. There's only one difference in being part of that 5%. And I wonder if all of you will agree with this simple little phrase. We have spent the last year trying to give you the edge on today's recession and how to deal with today's situation in today's environment with today's solution. And what we've tried to give you is the edge. The edge. And it's how you take what you already know and what you have learned from attending these calls and applying it when you're working with your prospects. Here's an example that I came up with. Healthy people regularly eat, and they eat right, and they exercise. Unhealthy people have the same opportunities to eat right and exercise, but unfortunately they choose not to. Over time, healthy people are rewarded, and unhealthy people are punished. Make sense? Healthy people don't exercise as some type of fantastic, mesmerizing experience. It's just basic fundamental understanding in health. They just consciously make the right decisions, the right food, and they exercise day in and day out. They make the same choices that unhealthy people refuse to make. That's exactly what we've been talking about all year in making good choices about providing benefits instead of selling and telling. With that thought, I want to go to you, Naomi, and we're doing our second call tonight, and we're following up based upon our last call. Are you there, Naomi?
Yes, I am.
Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
I'm glad to hear your voice. How things been for you since I gave you all that homework? What's worked out for you?
Oh, well, I have been doing my homework. Okay. I looked at the website and I pulled up the toolkit.
Okay.
And I did take some notes.
Okay.
And it was interesting doing some third-party investigations. I found it interesting. I think I'm unclear. I mean, it's clear that you can take this business and just kind of go on your own and do whatever you want to do. However, I think I need it mapped out for me. How do you do the business? What's the 1, 2, 3?
Okay. I'd love to reply to that, but before I do, let me understand what you're asking. Is that okay?
Sure.
Are you saying you like things laid out for you in 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, taking it 1 step at a time so you completely understand each step before you go to the next one?
Yes. Yes, and I like seeing the whole picture.
Okay.
Kind of like an outline.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, to answer that directly is, before we're through visiting tonight, I will go over those 3 steps with you, okay?
Okay.
I wrote down your exact words. Unclear, need 1, 2, 3, how to picture.
Yes.
But I'd like to keep things in sequence and focus a little bit more on you right now, if that's okay.
Okay.
When we visited in our last call, I was looking at my notes, and correct me if I'm wrong, but do you know that you mentioned 4 times that your biggest anxiety, your skepticism, your neediness, your discouragement, your lack of confidence was all based upon closing issues?
Yes.
Is it really that significant for you?
And I'm hoping that'll be resolved with the how-to. I'm hoping that there'll be some kind of flow that I can see, feel, understand, feel confident about.
Okay, well, here's what I'm trying to understand. Is it as significant as it sounds to you? It seems like it's all ensuing, all-encompassing. That seems to be an overwhelming issue. Am I wrong, or is that the way it really is?
I'm thinking that's my largest issue. I have a couple of other issues that I think that they can fall into place, but that's probably my largest issue.
Okay, so is that why you asked the question about 1, 2, 3?
Yes.
Okay, now it makes sense. Now I'm understanding you. Okay, so this 1, 2, 3 is basically the whole boat for you, the whole banana.
Yeah, 90%.
90%. What's the other 10%?
To know that, God forbid, your sponsor goes away. You, my sponsor, goes away. Not for choice, but for whatever reason. You're unavailable.
You were complaining about that with the last business you worked. You had some problems. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember that from the notes. Okay. I'm not going to go into it. The bottom line is you weren't a happy camper, right?
Right.
Okay.
I'm worried about not having additional support.
All right. Okay. All right. And you complained about your sponsor because all you were taught to do was sell and tell. That's a phrase we use, but basically that's what you said reminded you of what you had to do.
Right. It was, here's the way we do it. That's it. Don't deviate from that. God forbid I had an idea. No.
Okay. So you weren't allowed to make any independent choices yourself.
Right.
Okay. That's consistent with the last time. So if you say it twice, it's got to be true, Naomi. Okay. Another thing that you mentioned that I want to make sure that we address is you talked about your own fear of rejection, and that seemed to be right up there with the closing. They seem to go, is it possible to say hand in hand? Because when you don't close, it's the rejection experience, and it's like a never-ending circle, not closing, rejection, not closing?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they're absolutely hand in hand.
So they go hand in hand. It's rejection, the fear of rejection, and closing. Okay.
Yeah, because when I went to my friends before, I kind of felt pensive, and I was on pins and needles, and then I was worried about my relationships with people, and, that you have to overcome that. And that was difficult.
Okay. So, basically, we have 3 words that you've introduced me to tonight. One is you want to do the 1, 2, 3. You've got a fear of failure, which we haven't discussed, but it goes hand in hand with rejection. And then we can toss in that the symptoms that go from that is, of course, neediness, being discouraged, lacking confidence, and being skeptical, which is all the symptoms of rejection and not having things laid out simply enough. Is that a better understanding of your posture?
Yes.
Okay. After after everything that you have looked at with your homework, how do you still feel about how important it is for you to solve the problems that you presented to me on our last call?
You bleeped out for a minute. Could you repeat that?
Yes. After everything you have looked at with all the homework that you have done, how important is it now, after you've looked at all this, to still solve those problems and issues that we talked about on the last call and what we're talking about tonight? Is it still... Go ahead.
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's very important. I want to do this. I want to find the right fit. I need to find something to drive me forward on a different path than I'm currently on. I'm serious.
Okay. When you say that, what do you still see now, after all this work you've done, but what do you still see now as the answer to your problem? Because you know a lot more now than you did before. I beg your pardon?
Finding the right fit, probably some personal growth, maybe some training, knowing that I have the support, having it laid out for me, kind of, rolling it around in my head, testing it a little bit.
Okay, so would I be too silly if I said, whether you know it or not, when I asked you what do you see as the answer to your problem, did I write down your words, I need 1, 2, 3, I need to overcome rejection? Isn't that really the answer to your problem?
Yes.
Isn't it true that you know the answer to your problem, you just haven't figured out if you can or will do whatever it is you have to do to solve the problem? Isn't that the real issue? Can I and will I?
I know that I would commit because it's not about somebody else, it's about me. I want to succeed, so the commitment's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's do I have the tools to succeed?
Okay. Is there anything else stopping you from getting what you want at this time other than what you've already told me you believe is the solution to your own problem?
Well, this may be a little bit silly, but when something sounds really good and after looking at the business and Googling and checking other things, I'm like, wow, this almost seems too good. Like, is the rug going to get pulled out from under me? Is the company going to go away? I have heard those kind of horror stories.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, there's an old answer to that. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. I didn't see anything on the website that I thought was too good to be true. In fact, it's no walk in the park. And as you know, when we talked about the test drive, this is a business that takes a lot of practice and a lot of work and a lot of effort. So if you think you're going to get rich overnight, if something somewhere is giving you that impression, please let me assure you, unless you have a magic genie bottle, it's not going to happen. It's going to take a little crying, a little work, a little blood, a little sweat, and a little tears. Okay? So don't get unrealistic expectations. It'll do nothing but set you back. Your 1, 2, 3 cure to your own problem is the answer. And that 1, 2, 3 will keep you from having unrealistic expectations, therefore not quitting. Because you're not going to bite off any more than you can chew. Out of curiosity, have you looked at anything else in the last few days since we had our other call?
Sure.
And was there anything that you liked?
I found a couple of things interesting, but it's just problems that I had were that I couldn't talk to somebody else, that I couldn't verify some of the things that they were telling me. So I've kind of crossed them off my list.
Okay. All right. All right. In all of the things that you've discussed, we're going right back to needing 1, 2, 3. And do you remember when we talked about the test drive? Do you remember those MP3s that I sent you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you listened to those MP3s, you told me you laughed because you thought it was kind of funny, and you couldn't get over how it was just two people talking, and I reminded you it was really just a conversation. But do you remember listening to those MP3s?
Yeah, they sounded a lot like our conversation.
Okay. Is there anything in those MP3s in having a conversation that you couldn't become comfortable with in time and do yourself?
Probably in time. I don't think right off the bat.
That's right. No, nothing is that easy.
So that brings up another thing, training.
That's right. That's right. Now, when we talked about training, I told you about how whenever you were ready, we would introduce you to our support team. I told you how we would even allow you to come and be a guest on a Tuesday night live training call that we have. I even told you that I would send you my very training materials that I receive, and you have some of those. Is that not true?
Yep, that's
Okay.
true.
Isn't that the kind of step 1, 2, 3 that you're looking for? And isn't that how you actually came up with your own solution? By looking at the information and you started choosing? Is there any truth to that?
You know, to be, I didn't think about this before, but there was a comfort level. I was more comfortable with those MP3s, those conversations that I was listening to, and I am more comfortable with talking with you.
Okay. Now, of all of the things that we've discussed, what have you found the most appealing that you think has potential for you?
The training.
Okay. We're back to 1, 2, 3 again. Okay. Now, when we say 1, 2, 3, and I gave you the MP3s, I sent you the training information, I sent you emails, you had a chance to listen to the Tuesday night live call. Does any of that make sense as the kind of 1, 2, 3 support that you're demanding?
That answers the training issue.
Okay.
Yeah, and a little bit of the how-to. Yes.
Okay.
It does.
Okay, now, when you looked at the MP3 and you listened to that, can you think of anything more explicit than 1, 2, 3 and what you listened to? Did you listen to all three of them or just listen to the one?
No, I listened to all three.
Okay. How much more 1, 2, 3 do you want than that MP3? Think about it.
I think I want to try.
Okay. Now, in your training, you will do the same thing. You will be on an MP3 training, and you will get your own recording back, and you will hear yourself, and you'll say, oh, my God, I sound terrible. I need to do better. The folks that train you won't have to say a word. You'll be able to fix yourself because you'll recognize your own mistakes. You'll have that same benefit. Are you aware of that?
No, I wasn't.
Well, you will.
Okay.
Okay? You'll be able to benefit from that same practice. Before I go any farther, have I answered the 1, 2, 3 enough, or do we need to go into it a little bit more?
No, I think we're good. I think.
Give me in your words, then.
I need practice. I
Okay.
obviously need practice.
Then tell me in your own words what you believe in what we've discussed will resolve your 1, 2, 3 issues. I want to make sure you understand it before we go any farther, because I don't want you having any more of these issues. Do you mind explaining to me what it is that I've discussed with you you're going to take to fix your concerns? Which one of these are you going to use, and why?
The training, so that I could be confident and successful.
Okay.
Because I got it. It's not just about selling a product. It's about growing a business, and you do that through relationships. And so the right way to have a conversation is
Do you see the significance in the fact that by the way we're approaching this, we're reducing your risk to a lower risk?
yes, I do.
Okay. Do you see that you can even learn how to enjoy working your business because you don't have to be a salesman?
I don't mind selling, but yeah.
Okay. And the one that I like the best is I like the independence and the empowerment and the control by knowing that I can integrate all of this and design it and customize it to my own personality and to your personality. That's a pretty good strategic alliance when you can do it that way. Do you ever think about that?
Absolutely. It's a little bit more freedom as opposed to the previous where I had to mold into something else.
Okay. Now, in the business plan, did you look at the business plan as far as your overhead and return on investment, your budget and all that? Are you comfortable with that, or is there anything that we need to address?
No, I'm comfortable with the budget. I have a business plan as far as when I would do the business. I mean, obviously, face-to-face, whenever it come up, or whenever I would see opportunity. But as far as how many hours I'm going to put forth, I have, a tickler in the back of my mind based on, as far as expectations are concerned, how much progress and what time frame, or go back and fix the problem, and how much time I would, if I see no success, nothing, in 6 months, then I really have to hardcore go back to the drawing board, or maybe I just can't do it.
All right. Because you have marketing experience, because you've worked network marketing before, because you've had issues that we've been resolving, is there anything with the tools and the solutions that we've provided that you're unwilling to do to help yourself?
No, there isn't.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay. There are two reasons why people, usually, Naomi, don't start a business from home, especially when they've got burnt the way you've got burnt. Number one is you don't understand, or you don't believe, or it's both. Are either one of these applicable? Is there anything left you don't understand?
No.
Is there anything that you have doubts with? I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's always some, I don't care if it's a milliliter of doubt. There's always some doubt until you actually start, until you actually do, until you actually get involved. And so 100% doubt is never going to get wiped out.
Okay. But if you're not left alone and you have someone with you and you're supported, will that do a lot to shore up your confidence issue? You won't be alone?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's the first day of school or it's the first day on the new job, you're going to feel your element. Doesn't matter what it is. That's not stopping me from going forward.
Okay. Last question, please, Noemi. Is there anything else that you believe we need to cover so you can be comfortable about this process that we're going through?
Cover schedule training, though.
Okay. I need to do about 5 minutes of paperwork with you to bring you on board, and I want to start setting appointments for you to talk to our trainers, to get involved with the mentoring, to fill out the questionnaire so you can get all of that. Are you in a position where you could start your mentoring and training next week?
I'd rather do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow works for me. All I need to do is take the few minutes to get this paperwork done.
Okay.
All right. I want to pause, and I want to bring on the panel, and I want the panel to bring up whatever they think we've missed here that we could have done a better job with Noemi. Jan, would you like to start out, please?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm thinking maybe you should start with somebody else, because once I got you off of mute, I totally forgot what I was going to ask you.
All right, Will, what do you think we could have done better?
Well, there's a few things actually this time. Earlier in the conversation, you were talking to her about overcoming, or she had mentioned about being kind of worried about the relationships, the quality of the relationships in network marketing. I thought you could have dug into that a little bit more and found out a little bit of more about what she meant exactly.
What question would you have asked her?
Well, I would. I think I just would have said, "What do you mean about relationships?" Or asking something about, "Have you had a relationship that went bad because of your network marketing?"
Okay. All right. She did tell us that she had a bad relationship and she had a bad experience. Mm-hmm. And on this. And then when we were speaking a few minutes ago, we went over that again. Remember when we said about your bad situation with your other business and what you didn't like about it and what went wrong? Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else that we missed?
Yeah, I've got a couple more things. You were talking to her after you'd asked her if she'd done all of her homework, and I think your question was, how important is it to solve your problems? Right after that, you were talking something about needing tools and that. I thought you could have asked her, what skills do you think you bring to the table? What skills do you think you need to develop? And then later on, she had given you an answer and said confident and successful to when you were asking her to clarify what she wanted. And there was a point there where you were silent because she had just given you a couple of one-word answers of confident and successful. And the silence there was very effective. I thought it was really good that you didn't say anything because you could have missed her explaining it once she got her thoughts more together.
Very good. Do you feel, or did it register with you that the issue number 2, what skills could she bring to the table, that basically the whole conversation was about that one issue unto itself? Her 1, 2, 3, her rejection issues, training, support. That's all she wanted to talk about. I didn't have to bring that up. That's all she has on her mind.
Right, but I when that came around, I think that it would have been useful to find out what she felt confident about.
Okay.
In what she had already been exposed to. I mean, was,
all right.
part of, I think for me, it would have been better to find out, what she felt confident about so that we could address the areas where she might not be so confident.
Beautiful. Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I think a lot of the things that you're bringing up actually would have been covered on the conversation.
On the what?
Not the things that Kevin is bringing up. In other words, what do I bring to the table? Wouldn't those come out in the first conversation?
Yes. Yes.
So then we already have that information.
Yes, we did.
And then if we summarize, we could summarize those things.
Yes, and if I can refer to it, we talked about the summary of the first time, and I used the words your closing issues, skeptical,
right.
Needy,
Right.
discouraged, confidence, taught to sell, time management issues, fear of rejection, fear of failure, work previous MLM. We went over all of that. But I did not grill you and say, hey, tell me how great you are. What do you think you can do in order to be successful? maybe I should have done that in a very polite way. Maybe I missed
Hey,
it.
John?
Yeah.
I was looking through my notes and I found what I was going to bring up, and it's sort of a comment and a question because I'm not sure what the right answer is. But when Noemi was saying that she hadn't felt like she had support and she was concerned what would happen if you left, at what point in time would it be appropriate to reinforce that it's not just you, it's her and you and a team, and maybe introduce her to some others so that she has that comfort level that if anything did happen to you, here is other people that you have access to?
Absolutely. And we left it with her that as soon as she got her paperwork done, we were going to introduce her to her support team. And I said next week, and she said, no, what about tomorrow?
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought that was just about starting the training.
Well, that is the support team, the training. Whether it's the support team for her, the business she's going to join, or whether it's the support team with the training and mentoring we do, I was filling both roles.
Okay.
But when someone else is doing it, they just, turn them over to me. Does that make any sense?
It does. I guess in my mind, I think of it as two different things. Training is one thing, and then business-specific questions, or just knowing that you have someone to call if you have a question, like you can't get a hold of your trainer, which would be
your sponsor, right? Yes, absolutely, yes. And I was actually trying to fulfill the role tonight as a sponsor marketer, not a trainer.
Right.
Okay. I think we've just about concluded with that. Jan, you told me that you had some things you wanted to, by the way, bless you, Noemi, and thank you. Jan, you said you had some things you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, just really quickly, I have been in the industry for a little over 4.5 years, and the business I was with previously, we didn't have a product, we had more of a service. And so a lot of the training that I've had throughout the duration of my time in the industry didn't really apply to what I had done before, but it applies to what I'm doing now. And I just think that so many people are involved with a product-driven company that what seems to be working a little bit better for me now is when someone tells me no, since I've already know what their needs and wants are, and we've already discussed health issues in this example, it's sometimes good to try to turn that no into a customer, because after all, they are someone who probably is still concerned about their health.
So your point is, don't give up a what?
Don't give up a customer. So if you have three choices, either they're interested, they're not, they don't know, or they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's anything other than, yes, I'm ready to come on board and be a part of your team and create something bigger than ourselves together, then, and if they're looking and they say, well, I don't know, I don't know, I need to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you've answered all their questions, what they're really to think about, either they're just telling you that because they don't have they're afraid to tell you no, or if they really do need to think about it, what better way to think about it than actually have them try whatever it is for a month and get their head around it, so that might help them make that decision. Either way, you've got a really good chance of those other two options to get a customer.
And that's a good point, because when someone says, well, I need to think about it, I immediately say, well, what is it that we haven't addressed? I get a sense here there's something you haven't told me.
Correct.
And then I summarize. We fix this, and this. What else is it we need to fix? That's why we were so careful with Noemi, because she had some major, major issues. That's good stuff, Jan. Thanks a lot. Will, do you have anything you want to contribute?
Yeah, I do. I've been fortunate enough to know John for about 6 months now, and I've grown a lot, and I thank you very much for all the help that you've given me. And I've also had a chance to look at the book that you're writing, and I just want to tell everybody out there that when you see this book, there's a chapter in it that talks about all of the different kind of profiles of people. I mean, it's an exhaustive list of the different kinds of people out there. And once you see that, I mean, it's pretty amazing because when you're talking to somebody, oh yeah, well I know what profile that guy fits under, and it's I think it's exciting. I think that people are going to really like the book that comes out from this.
Well, thank you. Was there anything about the call that you would have done differently?
No, except for the stuff that I already addressed. She was a very fearful person. I think that that was evident just because of her insistence on the 1, 2, 3, and her talking about having doubts and stuff. That the doubt equals fear in my mind. But no, I think that it was pretty good.
I want to thank you for your support tonight because, folks, Will was run into by a semi today, and I know he's hurting something fierce. And I want to thank you for being on the call when I know you're going home and going to bed. So, thank you. It means a lot.
You're welcome, John.
Okay. Noemi, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I've known John. He reminded me the other day that the first contact was way back in March. But we actually really started rolling probably after I got homework done and whatever in May. And since that time period, I can honestly say that I know without a shadow of a doubt that I will be successful, that I am successful now and will even be more successful going forward. Seeing the simple conversations that we do in everyday life, but seem not know how to put it together for a business, and learning how to do that in just a different path has been pivotal for me in many different areas of my life. So I thank John from the bottom of my heart, and I thank God for having introduced us so that I can give my family what they deserve.
Okay. Thank you.
So what did Discovery bring forth on this call? Discovery brought about that this prospect needed everything laid out 1, 2, 3. They were okay with the product, the company, the opportunity, the compensation plan, but we had lost them as a good potential business partner because they weren't convinced until we went through the solutions to prove to them that it could be laid out 1, 2, 3, duplicatable, that they could understand and apply and implement. Until we went through enough discovery to get to that issue, we could not provide the solution that gave the prospect the confidence to know that they could do it because it made sense to them. Without taking that extra step in discovery, we would have lost this prospect. That is the message. More on later audios.